Joe Biden's transition team is reportedly vetting a handful of Republicans for potential cabinet positions, setting up the next stage of the fight within the Democratic Party if they can win back the White House. As Politico reports, past presidents George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, and Barack Obama did the same, but the tradition died with President Trump. Some of the names being floated: former Ohio Governor John Kasich, who spoke at the DNC this summer, Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker, and former Arizona Senator Jeff Flake. The Biden transition team told Politico the team isn't making decisions before Election Day, but stressed, quote, "Diversity of ideology and background is a core value of the transition." These reports appear to be a continuation of Biden's pitch that he's a unity candidate. At a town hall last week, he told the crowd he could bring bipartisanship back to Washington.
I'm going to pick up the phone and call him and say, let's get together. We got to figure out how we're going to move forward here, because there's so many things we really do agree on. And with Trump out of the way, the vindictiveness of a president going after Republicans who don't do exactly what he says gets taken away. There's going to be, I promise you, between 4 and 8 Republican senators are going to be willing to move on things where there's bipartisan consensus.
Bill Scher joins me now. He is a contributing editor for Politico Magazine and a contributor to RealClearPolitics. Bill, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us. So your latest commentary article for RealClearPolitics looks into this hope for bipartisanship in Joe Biden's potential Washington. Now, you identify which particular senators might be willing to work on certain types of legislation with Democrats, but many of Biden's policy promises, a $15 minimum wage, raising taxes on those making more than $400,000 a year, would need 60 votes and would need to get by Mitch McConnell. So how's that supposed to work?
Well, I don't think it has to go through Mitch necessarily. Assuming Democrats have control of the Senate, Biden may be better off working around Mitch McConnell, trying to find those 5 to 10 Republicans who are shook by the outcome of the election, assuming that Biden wins and by it's a significant margin, and may conclude that they're better off putting their home state interest ahead of their ideological interest.
Well, last week, progressive lawmakers and interest groups signed a letter arguing corporate executives and lobbyists should not be given cabinet positions in the Biden administration. So what rift, Bill, do you think appointing Republican cabinet members could expose in the Democratic Party?
Oh, I think that rift's going to be exposed very quickly. Everyone on the Democratic Party is unified right now, but the ideological left and some of the more partisans in the mainstream element of the Democratic Party don't like Biden's bipartisanship talk. And they want to push him hard early to get rid of the filibuster, to pack the court. And if Biden follows through with some Republican cabinet members, that is going to be an irritant to the left right off the bat.
Well, as you noted, so Democrats would need to win control of the Senate to enact significant policy change. 2 years ago, Democrats were defending seats in 3/4 of the races. Now it's Republicans on the defensive, trying to hold on to 23 of 35 seats. Majority Leader McConnell is trying to send his caucus home with a pair of wins, confirming Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court and passing their version of a coronavirus relief bill that the White House is unlikely to consider. Do you think, Bill, that will be enough to help some of these vulnerable Senate Republicans?
Well, the better Biden does in the election, I mean, if he's flipping Ohio, that might make Rob Portman recalculate his position. If he's flipping North Carolina, maybe Richard Burr rethinks where he's at. If he's flipping Iowa, perhaps Chuck Grassley has to think about what's right for his state. And Biden's also going around trading his personal relationships as well with people that he knows, that he's known for a long time in his 46 years in public life. So a lot of it depends on how well he does. If it's a narrow win, getting that cooperation will be a lot harder. If it's a bigger win, he's got more opportunity.
Well, what role does the president play in the battle for the Senate, especially this year, given everything the country is facing?
I mean, right now, I would think Biden might want to do more in this campaign to help with the Senate. His travel schedule is very light, and he's not going to Montana to help Steve Bullock. He's not gone to South Carolina to help Jamie Harrison. He's not gone to Georgia to help John Ossoff or Ralph Warnock, or Texas for MJ Hagar, at least not yet. But perhaps that might be a strategy for the home stretch to say it's not just about beating Trump. It's about giving me as much of a Senate as possible to make it easier to have this kind of unity that I'm talking about. If he can't get, I mean, a lot of those senators in those states are moderates. So it's not like he's asking the public to elevate the left wing of his party. He needs to have a big, robust, moderate victory, a moderate mandate, if he's going to convince those vulnerable Republicans to say, hey, you got to break away from Mitch and work with me on some things that are for the good of the country.
Bill, I want to ask you about the Affordable Care Act. So during Judge Barrett's confirmation hearing, Senate Democrats sought to cast her placement on the court as an assurance that the Supreme Court will finish striking down the Affordable Care Act. And Democrats clearly think this is an issue that plays in their favor. Republicans are continuing to fight the court battle to repeal it. Is it clear which outcome voters actually want to see?
Oh, I think voters clearly want to keep the Affordable Care Act. I mean, I think every poll shows that. And mind you, that might weigh on Amy Coney Barrett, as well as John Roberts and the other conservatives on the court. You know, they're not supposed to factor in politics, but sometimes they do. And, you know, Joe Biden and others might be whispering in their ears, you know, literally or figuratively, saying, you better not do this. You better not overturn ACA, or there's going to be such a public backlash that I will have the political capital to pack the court. So I would not be surprised, as conservative as Barrett was in the hearings, and we can't predict what she might do. Once she's there, she can do what she wants. But it wouldn't shock me if the court acted in a much more measured way for fear they would provoke a strong reaction from Democrats.
And so bottom line, though, Bill, has the bipartisanship sailed, or to be determined, depending on the outcome of this election?
As far as the Barrett's nomination is concerned, or just in general?
In general, because, you know, a lot of folks will point to Joe Biden, especially on the left, folks pointing to Joe Biden's sort of past record in working with Republicans as something of a bygone era, of a Washington that, in their view, they would argue, does not exist anymore, and therefore should not be the posture moving forward should he win. Because what they've argued, as you note, is in this time of a post-Trump presidency, if it is the fact that he loses the election, if that turns out to be the case, there really is not going to be the atmosphere to be able to work with Republicans, given what they say has happened under the Trump administration. So, I mean, I guess it'll be to be determined whether or not there will be a return, quote unquote, return to this bipartisanship era.
Well, consider Biden has run on it. He ran on it in the primary and won there. He's running on it in the general, and it looks like he will win on that score. He will have a mandate for bipartisanship. Now, that does put some power in the Republicans' hands. They can make Biden look foolish by sitting on their hands, which is what a lot of them tried to do with Barack Obama. So that makes a lot of Democrats nervous that he's giving Republicans that kind of power. The question is, will that mandate be so strong that you could get 5 to 10 Republicans in more purplish areas, or folks that don't have to worry about primary challenges because they're near the end of their careers, to recognize that mandate and act accordingly? That proposition, I think, will be tested very quickly in a Biden administration.
Yes, a lot of folks very anxious to see if that should be the case. All right. Bill Scher, really fascinating piece. Thank you so much, Bill. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Take care.